Hello bookworms, it's Jade from Bedtime Bookworm and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to talk to you about my goals for 2020. This is another video in my year wrap-up series. Today I'm going to talk about the goals that I had for the year of 2019 and see how I did on them, as well as talk about my goals for 2020. Some of them are going to be really similar to the goals that I had in 2019, and some of them are going to be a little bit different. I basically have 3 different categories for my goals, and I will have timestamps in the description box if you want to jump around the sections. The first section of goals are going to be just general book-related goals. And then I'll have a section where I'll talk about my goals related to series. And then the last section will be channel-related goals. So let's start with talking about general book-related goals. For the year of 2019, I had a goal of reading 52 books. I've had that same goal a couple years in a row, and I really like that goal. I feel like for me it is achievable, but also can be challenging if I'm having a difficult reading year. And in the year of 2019, I read 64 books. So I surpassed my goal by the most that I've ever surpassed it before. I've never read 64 books in a year before. And I'm so happy with that number. I actually hit my goal of 52 books in October. And I think that's because this summer I had a couple months where I read like 8 or 9 books each, which is a lot for me. For 2020, I'm going to set my goal again at 52 books. Like I said, that's just a number that I really like. I like the idea of averaging about a book a week. If I can do more than that, fantastic, but I just want to try to not do less reading than that. Another goal that I had in 2019 was to read no more than 25% new releases, meaning I didn't want new releases to take up more than a quarter of what I read during the year. And I do this because I just really enjoy reading backlist. I feel like reading new releases sometimes can be a bit of a gamble because I really like to look at reviews that are already out and see what some of my friends have thought of a book before I go into it, so I know what to expect, and that way I'm kind of picking books that I have a higher likelihood of liking. And I feel like when I read new releases, it's more of a gamble. At the same time, I still like reading new releases, and it's really fun to talk about new books that have just come out with other people in the book community. So last year, I thought that doing a 75-25 split would be a good balance for me. So in 2019, I read 15 new releases, and that made up 22% of my reading. So I did really great on that goal, and I read quite a bit of backlist last year. I think doing a 75-25 split or having that goal was really good for me, and I am setting that as a goal again for next year. My next book-related goal was related to reading my owned TBR. So last year, I cataloged all of the books that I owned, even all the ones on my Kindle, on my Audible account, physically, everything. I put it in a spreadsheet. There's a spreadsheet that LibreLabra made that I used. I will link it down below. And on the spreadsheet, you can mark whatever formats you have a book in and whether or not it's been read, and it does a bunch of math for you. So I've been using that spreadsheet to keep track of what owned books I've been reading. So one of my goals related to my owned TBR was to read 1 owned book a month, and at the minimum to read 12 in the year. If you look at all of the books that I read a total of 27 owned books, but that's including rereads. So if you include rereads, then I did read at least 1 a month, and I definitely read more than 12 in the year. But really, this goal is intended to help me read my owned unread books. So if you take the rereads out of the equation, there were 2 months where I didn't read an owned book that I hadn't read before. I still think that's pretty good. So at the end of 2018, the spreadsheet told me that I had 82 books that I owned that I had not read. And so I wanted to take that number down to 70. I was thinking if I read 1 a month, then 82 minus 12 is 70. And this is where things go a little wrong, because while I sort of accounted for the fact that I was going to be acquiring books, that's why I only wanted to decrease that number by 12, I didn't account for the number of books that I really ended up acquiring. So I ended up adding 29 previously unread books to my shelves this year. Some of those I read, but as of the end of 2019, turns out I have 90 books that I own that I haven't read. So instead of that number going from 82 to 70, it went up to 90. So that definitely does not look good to me. However, if you look at the percentages, last year I had 42% of my own books were unread. But this year, even though the actual number of books went up, the percentage went down. I now have 40% of my shelves unread. So it went down by 2%. So basically, I did some good work on this goal, but I didn't quite get to where I would have liked. And I think for next year, I'm going to change the way that I'm doing this. The hard part has been that a lot of the books that I own aren't necessarily the ones that I want to read the most. And so they keep getting pushed aside for other books that I want to read more. I still want to prioritize books that I own and slowly get through them while balancing that with other books that are higher on my TBR that I don't own. What I think I'm going to do for next year is, instead of focusing on the numbers, because obviously that didn't work out so well this year, I think next year I'm going to focus on the percentage. So as of right now, like I said, I have 40% of my shelves are unread. And I think I want to try and take that down to 35%, which means my percentage needs to go down by 5%. This year, I only brought it down by 2%, so I think it might be a little bit hard, but if I try a little harder to rein in my buying of new books, and I really try to read at least one owned book a month, one unread owned book a month, I think that I might be able to do it. So as far as owned books, my goals will be to read one unread owned book every month, and to bring my percentage of owned unread books down from 40% to 35%. And then the last overall book-related goal that I had last year was to write a Goodreads review for every book that I read, and this was a big fat fail. And I knew it not too long into 2019 that this just wasn't going to happen, so I kind of gave up on it. There was one month where I think I wrote 4 or 5 reviews, maybe just 3, I don't know. I sat down one day and wrote some reviews, and I was exhausted. And that was already at like halfway through the year. So for 2020, I need to change this goal, because obviously telling myself that I'm going to write full reviews for each book that I read just didn't work for me last year. So I've been thinking about this, and I have an idea. I still want to put something on Goodreads after I read it. I mean, I already do. I always do a star rating, but I want to put something in the review section of each book. And I'm going to challenge myself to, first of all, at least link the wrap-up where I talk about that book. So I think at the end of the month, after I post my wrap-up, I'm going to go through the books that I talked about in that wrap-up and link the video and put a timestamp for where I talk about it. That way it'll be semi-easy for people to jump directly to my thoughts on a book. Not as easy as reading my thoughts, but at least they can find my thoughts. The other thing I'm going to try to do is, when I'm doing this, leave at least like a 1 or 2 sentence review, just a quick blurb on my overall thoughts, nothing too specific. And I think trying to do it this way will make it seem less daunting to me, and that way I'll actually do it instead of getting too overwhelmed and just giving up on leaving reviews on Goodreads completely. Let me know what you think about that idea down in the comment section. Do you think leaving a link to the video would be helpful, or would you rather I just put the 2 sentences that I want to put and nothing else? Because at this point, writing full reviews is just not happening. Okay, moving on to my next section of goals. Now I'm going to talk about my goals related to series. As you guys know, I think about series a lot. I'm in the middle of a lot of series. I'm constantly trying to prioritize the series that I'm reading. So apparently when I ended 2018, I was at a total of 26 series. And I set my goal for 2019 to just end the year with at least 1 less series than I started. So 25 at the most. And that was sort of a fail. Not sort of a fail, it was a fail, because I'm currently sitting at 31 series. So my problem in 2019 is that I started 16 series. I started too many. But at the same time, I did finish 7 series, and I chose to DNF 6. So I really only increased the number of series by 3, but there was also 1 series that was previously marked as completed that became uncompleted because a new book was published in that series. And then I have an extra series that I don't know where it came from. Either I miscounted last year or it's a mystery. But regardless, I'm now in the middle of 31 series, which is a far cry from the 25 I was shooting for. As I've mentioned in a couple of previous videos, I am changing the way that I'm thinking about my series goals, because this whole keeping track of the numbers thing is not working for me and honestly just stresses me out. So what I have decided to do is I came up with a list of 10 series that I want to try and finish in 2020, which is a video that I posted last week. I also made a video listing 15 series that I wanted to start. The reason why I did this is because I have been feeling restricted in starting series, and in 2019 that resulted in me starting series, just not the series that I was the most interested in. And a lot of the series that I started last year are ongoing series that aren't completed yet, or they're like companion book series where I can kind of stretch them out. And so a lot of them aren't series that I can easily finish in 2020. So my hope in making the list of 15 series to start is that when I get the itch to start series in 2020, hopefully it'll be series on that list that are already completed and that are really high priority for me. Another series goal that I'm going to try out for the first time in 2020 is a percentage goal. A lot of times when I'm avoiding starting new series, what I do instead is I read standalones. But I think that I would complete more series if the percentage of books in a series that I was reading was most of what I was picking up. So I looked at my stats, and in 2019, about 50% of the books that I read were part of a series and 50% were standalones. So in 2020, what I want to do is make 70% of my reading be books from a series and only have 30% be standalones. This is kind of a hard number to decide on. First of all, jumping from 50 to 70% is kind of a big percentage. A small part of me wanted to do 75% books in series, but I'm just not sure how feasible that is because I do want to leave room to read some standalones. I don't want to make that number too small, but I also wanted to really increase the number of books in a series I was reading in the hopes that I can finish more series next year. So that's going to be a new series goal. Have 70% of the books that I read be part of a series. Okay, moving on to my channel related goals. First of all, I never do subscriber count related goals because I feel like that's just something that I don't have control over. Instead, I make goals related to my content. So the first channel related goal that I had last year was to post a minimum of 1 time a week. And I did pretty well with that goal. There were 3 weeks within the year that I didn't post, but if you look at the total number of videos that I posted 76 videos in 2019. And if you divide that by 52, that comes out to about 1.5 videos a week. So I'm really happy with that. And I'm going to do a similar goal for next year. I want to have a goal of posting at least 1 time a week, but for a good chunk of 2019, I was posting 2 times a week. So I know that it's doable for me to post more. So I definitely want to try to post closer to 2 times a week. And in 2020, I'm making it a goal to post an average of 1.5 times a week, which is what I did in 2019 without actually trying. So I think that I can do that in 2020. Maybe even better. I wanted to make that a little bit higher, but I wanted to keep it achievable. So my goal for 2020 is to post an average of 1.5 times a week. Another goal that I had was to do at least 6 Goodreads live streams, and I definitely did this. I did 7 Goodreads live streams. I started doing them in June, and I've been doing 1 a month, and I've really enjoyed those Goodreads live streams. This is something I want to continue into 2020, so I'm hoping to continue to do 1 a month in 2020. And then my last channel-related goal from 2019 was to post at least 6 reading vlogs. I looked through all the videos that I posted this year, and I did exactly 6 reading vlogs, which honestly kind of surprised me. I thought I did more than that because at some point I was trying to, in my planning of my video schedule, I was trying to do 1 a month, which obviously I knew that I didn't do, but I thought that I did more than just 6. I really enjoy watching reading vlogs, and I knew that I wanted to do more of them. So the reading vlogs that I did in 2019 were a little bit of a trial run and practice for what I wanted to do in 2020. I've decided that in 2020, I'm going to be doing bi-weekly reading vlogs. And by bi-weekly, I mean that each reading vlog will cover 2 weeks of reading. I just don't think I read enough to do weekly reading vlogs every week, but I think looking at every 2 weeks will be more interesting. My plan is to check in 3 times over the course of those 2 weeks, and hopefully I can keep my check-ins pretty short because I don't want these videos to be too long. You can expect my reading vlogs to go up every other Wednesday. I'll be ending the vlog on Sunday or Monday and then posting it by the following Wednesday. If you're not the type of booktube viewer that watches reading vlogs, that's totally fine. I'm still going to be doing my monthly wrap-ups, but I'm hoping that I can make my monthly wrap-ups a little bit shorter, because if I have really in-depth thoughts, I can point people to my reading vlog, and hopefully I give more detailed information there. Let me know what you guys think about the bi-weekly reading vlog situation. Hopefully you guys think it's a good idea. I'm already planning on doing it regardless, but I'd love to hear what you think. I guess another thing I could mention real quick, because it's sort of related, it has to do with reading updates. I'm also in 2020 going to be doing weekly reading updates, so every weekend, or most weekends. I'm sure I'm gonna miss some here and there, but most weekends I'm going to take some time on Instagram in my stories to give you an update on what I'm reading. Kind of like a weekend reads, but I might not do it at the beginning of the weekend. It can happen at any point during the weekend, and I'll just tell you what books I'm in the middle of and what my thoughts are on them at that time. So if you don't follow me on Instagram and you're interested in keeping up with my reading more in real time, then definitely follow me over there. Alright guys, those are all of the goals that I had last year and all of the goals that I'm making for next year. Let me know in the comment section what are some of your reading goals for 2020. I'm always interested to hear what kind of goals people have when it comes to reading. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content. That is all I have for now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bookworms, keep reading. Bye.